Good morning, everybody. So day 3, here we are. Hope we're having a good week so far. So today's topic is all about ranting. Now, it's not going to be me having a rant on this video, but it's going to be talking about the concept of ranting and why you should be doing it, but in the right way. So first of all, I'm sure it's fair to say we all know that one individual or those couples of individuals who just rant all day, every day, social media, to their friends, to their family. They just rant constantly. And ranting is great, but in the right way. Morning, James. So we've got to make sure that we do rant, but we rant in the right way, to the right people, and at an appropriate time. Because the last thing we want is to become that person who's always ranting and on about somebody, things, challenges, problems, and becoming, I guess, a bit of a moaner more than anything. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about why ranting is so important, how you can rant in the right way, to be seen to control what you're doing, continue to move forward, continue to grow your business, rather than constantly rant and I guess give out the wrong message and give out the wrong impression. So why ranting is so important. Morning, Layla. Why ranting is so important is because psychologically, if you keep everything in-house or inside and you don't let things out, it can put you into a downward spiral. And so what's going to happen is you're going to think about something and it's going to annoy you and frustrate you. And if you don't let that out in a controlled way, I'm sure some of you can relate to you when you have that moment of something gets on your nerves, you continue to think about it, you worry about things, it makes you think of other things, you have sleepless nights, you then get really frustrated, you get angry, and then before long, what was something, if you just let it out 3 or 4 days earlier, none of the sequence of events that have occurred following that would have happened. Because you've built it up in your mind, you're constantly thinking about it, you can't let go of the emotions or the feelings, and it just makes you feel bad. So hopefully some of you can relate to that and understand what I mean when I'm saying those couple of days and how they pan out. So how then should we be ranting? So the first thing is you can't just rant to anybody. Because, as I said before, you then become that person, who's always ranting, always moaning. We all know somebody who does that, and that's no disrespect to them as an individual, because they are getting off their chest or getting off their mind things that are frustrating them. However, they're just doing it potentially to the wrong person or they're in the wrong environment to get some useful feedback or some useful input out of it. So how we do this is you have loads and loads of different people in your life, and some of them you can get on really closely, really well with, others not so much. So you need to understand the people who can emotionally not take any offense or take anything personally when you rant to them. So for example, James, most of you know, if not all of you know, is my business partner. And me and James know that we can rant to each other. And out of the blue, or at a certain time during the week, or after a particular event during the month, etc., we both know, and he won't mind me talking openly about this on this morning's video, is that if I ring James or James rings me, and we manage that other person's expectation, and it can be a very simple sentence, phrase, whatever you'd like to call it, as to, sorry mate, I really need to get this off my chest, or I really need to say something, or I really need to talk to you about this, and then you have your rant, it's controlled. The other person knows what's coming, and it allows us to get absolutely everything off of our chest that we need. But it's not pinpointed or directed at that individual. Some of it may seem that way because we take out a lot of emotion and a lot of our frustrations on the people we most care about. But because we manage each other's expectations prior to actually letting everything out, It's okay, because there's no emotional attachment to it. It's just letting that other person say what they need to say, because once they've said everything they need to say, some of you have probably come across this before, whereby that person is then almost in a completely different emotional state, and they feel relieved, much happier. They're a bit more open when they're talking about some good things, because they've got rid of all of that emotion and that uptight feeling about things that were frustrating them. So that's how we do it. I've got members of my family who I will also do exactly the same thing to. My wife is a great example for that. She's happy to listen to me rant and rave most of the time when something's gone on. And likewise for her, if there's something we need to talk about and it's just getting stuff off of our chest, then it's another outlet in a controlled way that you can do that. So think about initially people in your business, in your circle of influence, in your life, whether that's your family, your friends, etc., who know you so well that you would feel comfortable managing their expectation. Be like, I'm really sorry, I need to get something off my chest. Is it okay if I do it now? And see if they can help you to allow you to get rid of those emotions, allow yourself to get rid of the frustration and get yourselves moving forward again. Morning, Lynn. So make sure that it's a certain individual, certain types of people who you feel comfortable doing that with. And then make sure that, again, it's not every day, it's not every week, but periodically make sure that you're allowing yourself to speak to that person, to catch up in a positive way as well. So don't just use that person to rant and rave, and make sure that it's a two-way dialogue. So once you've ranted, you've raved, or you've had a positive conversation with them, get some engagement back from them as well. Make sure that they are comfortable coming to you in a similar scenario, or just for a normal general catch-up as well, because the last thing that individual wants to then be seen as later on down the line is the person that you call to rant and rave about, and that's all they do, is they just hear and listen to your problems, because then that's a whole nother video on how that applies stress and pressure to other people if it's the only sole reason you speak to them. So find those individuals, see how they could help you, see if they're comfortable in helping you, and then do your reaching out to them in the right way. So make sure it's a controlled conversation, you manage their expectation, and then it's a two-way dialogue once it's done. The main reason for doing all of this and controlling the way you're ranting is so that you can continue to grow either your business, your credibility, your branding, whatever it is, and you're not just blurting it out openly to anybody and everybody to hear, because that starts to impact on the impression people have of you. And a majority of people don't find it professional or credible if you're out there on social media, in social groups, networking, etc., and you're always talking about the negative things. So controlling it and finding those individuals you can control it with is really, really powerful, because it allows you in your professional capacity to keep doing what you do best, keep moving forward, allowing yourself to maybe gain new clients or build new relationships, and you just in general give off a persona that's much more controlled, much more calming, and you're allowing yourself to outlet your negativity in certain channels and your positivity in others. So that's a really, really important thing. So a couple of things that me and James have done over the past couple of weeks and months in order to do this is to make sure that if you're having a challenge, so tip number one is if you come across a challenge during the week, don't let it build up. So as soon as something frustrates you, take a moment to understand, okay, can I get over this right now in your own emotional state, or has it really attached itself emotionally to you, and do you need to reach out to somebody to deal with that straight away? And be confident in making that decision straight away. Because if you let that build up, I can guarantee, because I've been there, that you get to that stage where you can't concentrate, you can't get the important things done, and it stops you from moving forward because all you can think about is this emotional thing that's really got on your nerves. So top tip number 1 is, if you start to come across a challenge, think about, okay, do I need to get this off my chest? Do I need to do something about this right now? Or can I deal with it emotionally myself? Can I get myself out of this state and continue to move forward? Number 2 is, try to make sure that when you are ranting to somebody, you don't use phrases like you all the time, because you say that enough and that can really hit home with somebody that although it's not intentional to be personal and aimed at them, it might be. And going back to that conversation around just ringing somebody to rant and moan, that can have a detrimental impact on your relationship with them. So make sure that it's very open, not necessarily generalistic, because we need to be specific about the topic we're talking about, because that is what has frustrated us. But just be conscious of the language you're using, even in a fiery and emotional state, because you don't want it to be feeling like it's pinpointing on that individual, because this is not an emotional attack and this is not an outrage on that individual. It is purely a release of frustration and emotion inside so that you can get yourself back to a very confident state. And tip number 3 is the positive follow-up. So once you've ranted and raved, don't just leave the conversation there. So how many of you have had that scenario where you're talking to somebody, they get a bit angry, they get a bit emotional, and it gets maybe a little bit heated, not again on a personal level, but the conversation just escalates a little bit, and then that's it. And when you walk away, how does that make you feel? You don't know where you stand with that person, or you've now got your own questions in your mind, or you don't really understand what the outcome of that conversation was, other than there's been this big outburst. So tip number 3 is, when you've had your rant, when you've got all of your emotion out of your own mind, have a follow-up conversation immediately, even if it is just you saying, I'm really sorry about that, but thank you for listening. Out of interest, have you got any feedback or input into that scenario? And they might have nothing. But you've diffused all of the pinpointing that could have potentially come across. You've removed that emotional attachment to it, and you've allowed that individual to go, okay, that's now complete, that's now done, they're happy or they're happier, and how can I potentially help them to move forward again and finish on a high note or finish on a positive. So make sure that you finish those conversations with a positive, with a solid follow-up, and it's more of an open and generalistic approach to it. So there are 3 things that you can do that are really, really supportive in ranting and not letting it just end as a bad, negative situation. So that is ranting in a controlled moment, with the right people, in a right way, and 3 top tips that you can do to make sure that moving forward, you're ranting in a respected, emotion-free and non-personal way to certain individuals. So you might be thinking, okay, well, what if I rant to somebody and it annoys them, or I upset them, or it doesn't have the right impact that I thought it was going to? Then make sure you follow that up. Just make sure that you continually go back to that individual and there's positivity going back, and make sure they understand that this is not an attack on them. The instant feedback for you is they weren't the right person for you to rant to again. So learn from that quite quickly and manage expectations of people as soon as possible. Don't let the rant just come out. Oh, by the way, I'm going to give you a call, bam, and hit them with the rant. It needs to be controlled. You need to make sure that they're in the right moment or in the right environment to receive this rant. Because if you call somebody and then oh my God, you don't believe this is, and you just go straight into your rant, they might be in a meeting or they might be with other people. So just make sure that you're controlling what you're doing and learn from how you're approaching people with your ranting. They've got to be in the right frame of mind and the right environment to receive it as well. So what if the individual doesn't like what you say? Then again, there's been too much you in your language, and you've made it really personal, and it's felt like a personal attack on them. So just be mindful of that. And again, at the end of the conversation or at the end of the rant, ask for feedback. Get some input from them, get some positivity coming back into that conversation and that scenario, and allow you both to move forward in the right way. So hopefully that's really useful. Start giving this a go as soon as you can. So start making sure that when you start to feel emotion, you get frustrations, potentially some stress or something like that, and something starts to play on your mind, that you start to think about, how can I make this go away? And when I say make this go away, it's speak to somebody about it. It's not about bottling it all up and holding it in, because it's not healthy. And it's not good for your mental well-being, and it doesn't allow you to overcome the problem. All it allows you to do, or all it makes you do, is escalate the problem, make it larger, make it bigger in your own mind, and then 3, 4, 5 days down the line, you're stressed, you can't sleep, you've got no idea how to overcome this challenge, when the answer is simply to have nipped it in the bud early on and allowed yourself to get over the emotion of it, whether that was talking to somebody, your own emotional control, etc., etc. So start doing it earlier and sooner rather than later. So I hope that's useful. That is day number 3, and it's all about ranting, and ranting in the right way, in the controlled manner, and making sure that it's not just a rant and then we're walking away. It's following up, it's being positive, but it's making sure we're doing it in the best way possible so that we are able, morning Gemma, we are able to continue to move forward. Morning Jim, morning Tom. Just make sure that you're controlling what you're doing, you're not broadcasting out your rants, and you're making yourself, 1, feel better, 2, with people that know what is going on, and 3, in a way that they're happy to receive what you're about to unleash or release, because they need to be able to help you. You don't want to be negatively impacting people all the time. So again, hope that's useful. If this is been a useful video, please do like, comment, share, and make sure that you're tagging anybody in it that you think this is relevant to. Hopefully the series are really providing some value. If there's a particular topic you'd like me to talk around, please do let me know. Otherwise I'll just continue to release the videos that I release. We've got a really good content series now going on, so I'm going to continue pushing this forward and pushing this out. I will be putting all of these videos onto YouTube as well as keeping them here on Facebook. So, and I'll be putting them on Instagram TV as well. So look out for those. We will be repurposing these and getting the content stored on various different platforms so you can access it all the time. That is all from me this morning. Hope you have a great middle to the week. Keep smashing your goals, keep moving forward, and remember, get ranting if you've got frustrations, but to the right people. Don't do it openly, do it controlled, and make sure you keep moving yourselves forward. Have a great week. See you tomorrow morning. Bye for now.